They told me never to cross the second fence, not because of trespassers, because of what waits between the two. Out there, the desert doesn't stay quiet. Some nights, the sand hums like there's a power line running beneath it. Other nights, something answers back. I've seen good men vanish for stepping a foot too far, and every night that line hums louder.
They assigned me to the night perimeter last December. No promotion, no ceremony, just a signature and a stack of rules thicker than my old field manual. Most of us at Groom Lake don't ask questions. You learn fast that curiosity is a career killer. The briefing trailer smelled like hot plastic and old coffee. The man running orientation didn't give his name, just called himself supervisor. He handed each of us a laminated card, matte black with red lettering. It listed 7 rules. We were told to memorize them before our first shift. Rule 1. Do not look beyond the second fence after 0300 hours. Rule 2. Do not respond to voices calling your name from outside the lights. Rule 3. If you hear the hum, report to command post and wait. Rule 4. Never shine a flashlight west of Tower 6. Rule 5. If something crosses the sand, log it. Don't approach. Rule 6. If you lose radio contact for more than 60 seconds, stand still. Rule 7. If another guard tells you to check the wire and you didn't call them first, run. He said the rules had been refined through experience. Nobody asked whose experience. I took the assignment because I needed the money. My sister's medical bills were stacking up, and civilian work had dried up. Area 51 paid in cash bonuses, no questions asked. They said it was national security detail, not base interior work. Just a fence line in the desert. Easy money. Night patrols start at 2200. The cold bites differently here. Dry, sharp, like breathing broken glass. The desert stretches out in all directions, but the fences make it feel smaller. The first fence is topped with barbed wire and motion sensors. The second fence, 50 meters beyond, hums faintly even when the power's off. We're told it's a static field line, something to do with radar testing. They pair you with another guard. My partner was Carter, former Marine, 5 years older, quiet. He said the first week's the hardest. The hum gets in your teeth, he told me, tapping his jaw. You'll feel it before you hear it. We walked our section in silence, flashlights off, using night vision goggles. The stars were sharp and endless, but the ground felt wrong, like it was vibrating. I asked Carter if it was from the underground turbines. He didn't answer. At midnight, we stopped at Tower 6 to check in. The hum was faint, a low 3-beat pulse, thrum, thrum, thrum. Carter clicked his radio twice, our code for "I hear it too." From the ridge you can see the test range, miles of dead sand and scattered antennae. Nothing grows here. Sometimes when the wind shifts, a metallic smell drifts in, ozone or burned copper. By 2 a.m., my nerves had leveled out. It was just another post, until I saw movement by the second fence. A figure, tall, walking slowly, parallel to the wire. "Carter," I whispered, "you see that?" He didn't look. "Keep your eyes on the ground," he said. "It's not for us." The figure stopped. Even through the night vision, I couldn't make out details, just the shape of a person standing still, head tilted toward me. For a second, I thought it was a civilian who wandered too close. But then, it waved. That's when the radio crackled. A voice came through. Not our supervisor, not anyone on shift. It was my sister's voice. It said, "Daniel, come home." I froze. My breath fogged the inside of my visor. Carter reached over and switched my radio off without a word. "You heard her, didn't you?" he said quietly. I nodded. "Then don't listen again." When we finished our shift at dawn, Carter didn't sign his name in the logbook. He just wrote, "All accounted for." Before leaving, I looked back once. The sun had started to rise over the hills, burning away the night. For a moment, I saw the second fence shimmer, like heat distortion, only there was no heat. Later that morning, I found the laminated rules card in my pocket again. On the back, someone had written in black marker, "Rule 8, don't ever ask who's on the other side." I hadn't written that, and Carter swore he hadn't either. That night, the hum started earlier. The hum is changing. Someone or something is testing the rules. The second night felt quieter, but not safer. The desert around Groom Lake holds a strange kind of silence, thick, weighty, like sound doesn't want to travel. Even the wind feels muffled. We clocked in at 21:55. Carter was already outside, leaning against the Jeep, cigarette glowing in the dark. He didn't greet me, just flicked the lighter shut and nodded toward the fence line. "You'll hear it before 0100 tonight," he said. "They move early when the moon's low." "They?" I asked, loading my rifle. He gave a half smile. "Doesn't matter. Just don't break stride." We began the walk from Tower 3 to 7, a stretch known as the Shelf because it overlooks a dry basin where radar dishes used to stand. The terrain drops suddenly about 20 feet past the first fence, leaving an open pit of gravel and glassy rock. No footprints stay long. Wind wipes them smooth by dawn. The floodlights were out on Tower 5. We logged it in the book, but didn't stop. Rule 6 said never to linger if radio contact was good. But halfway to the tower, Carter's radio hissed, then went dead. Mine followed a second later. 60 seconds, I whispered, remembering the rule. Carter stood perfectly still, not a word. We counted together in silence, our watches glowing faint green. At 58 seconds, something crackled, not the radio, but the air itself, like static between two storm fronts. Then I heard footsteps, soft, dragging, slow, coming from outside the second fence. Through the NVG, the fence shimmered faintly green. I scanned left, nothing. Right, movement. A figure again, but closer this time, maybe 30 meters out. The same height, the same strange tilt of the head. Only this time, I saw its legs move wrong, bent backward for 2 steps before correcting, as if it remembered too late how to imitate us. "Don't move," Carter said under his breath. The thing stopped. Then, without warning, every sensor light along the fence blinked red. The hum started, not faint now, but heavy. I felt it in my jaw, vibrating the fillings in my teeth. Carter tapped my shoulder twice, signal for retreat to tower. We turned slowly and walked back toward the light of Tower 4. Behind us, gravel crunched once. I didn't look. By the time we reached the tower base, the hum stopped. Radios clicked back online. Base Command, this is Patrol 4. Possible movement near Sector Delta. Static. Then Supervisor's voice, flat as ever. Copy Patrol 4. No movement logged on thermal. Resume route. Thermal's wrong, Carter muttered. Always is when it's near the wire. We resumed our patrol, but I couldn't shake the feeling we were being watched. At one point, Carter paused, squinting across the basin. "What?" I asked. He raised his flashlight and froze. Rule 4, never shine west of Tower 6. The beam had landed on the distant dunes. For a moment, I saw something metallic, half buried. It looked like a dome or a hatch. Before I could focus, Carter turned the light off. When our shift ended, I went to the outpost mess for coffee. Inside, the monitors showed each tower's live feed. I watched ours for a moment. There, just at the edge of the frame, something moved near the wire. It wasn't walking this time, it was crawling. A technician noticed me staring. He said, "Night mirages. The cameras glitch sometimes." But I replayed the footage twice before leaving. The shape never glitched. It moved deliberately. Later that night, as I tried to sleep in my trailer, I heard the hum again, soft like a generator under the floor. Then a voice, faint, whispering through the static. It wasn't my sister this time. It was Carter. "If it calls your name again, don't answer, not even in your head." I opened my door, but the camp was empty. Carter wasn't outside. His bed, when I checked an hour later, was perfectly made. When morning came, Supervisor gathered everyone for a quick address. "Patrol rotations are being adjusted," he said. "Personnel reduction. You'll be solo until no further notice." Someone asked about Carter. Supervisor didn't blink. No one by that name on the roster. I checked the sign-in log after briefing. His name, every entry, was gone, like he'd never existed. When I stepped outside, the wind picked up, carrying dust from the wire. For a second, I thought I heard the hum again, but underneath it, faintly, was something else. Breathing. Carter's disappearance isn't an accident. Someone is erasing those who know what the hum really is.
The next evening, my orders changed. Patrol route extended west, past Tower 6, the same direction the rules warned us not to look. I stood by the Jeep as the sun went down, red light spilling over the desert like blood. The radio clicked twice. Supervisor's signal. "Patrol Delta, proceed along new perimeter marker. Do not deviate. Do not stop for visual confirmation. Log by coordinates only." "Copy," I said, but my stomach turned. New perimeter marker meant something had shifted. Literally. They were moving the fence line. By 2300, I reached the edge of the old fence. The second wire shimmered faintly in the moonlight, like heat haze. Beyond it, the desert rolled into shallow dunes. Somewhere out there, I could see faint towers, metal, skeletal, their red beacons blinking in uneven rhythm. As I walked parallel to the fence, the hum began again. Only this time it wasn't distant. It moved. The vibration pulsed through the sand, traveling alongside me like something burrowing just beneath the surface. The radio whispered static, random at first, then forming words. "Do not cross the second line. Do not look down." I froze. The voice wasn't Supervisor's. It was older, dry, crackling, almost brittle like an old recording. When the hum passed, the sand bulged beside my boot. Just once. A ripple, like something exhaling beneath the surface. I stepped back,
Drew my flashlight. The beam hit the sand and reflected. A metal surface, buried deep, with a smooth curve. I brushed the sand away with my glove. The curve continued, polished, seamless, and beneath the dust, faint markings, triangles, intersecting circles, a pattern I couldn't place. It wasn't military. It wasn't human. Then came the footsteps, behind me, slow, measured. I turned. A man stood just inside the first fence, gray uniform, face shadowed by the tower light. For a second I thought it was Carter. Same build, same posture. But when he stepped closer, the motion was wrong, like frames missing between movements. "You shouldn't be here," the voice said, perfectly flat. I raised my rifle, finger off the trigger. "Identify yourself!" "You shouldn't be here," he repeated, same tone, same cadence. That's when I saw his boots weren't touching the sand. They hovered an inch above it, barely moving as the hum grew louder again. My flashlight flickered. The metal curve beneath me vibrated. A deep, mechanical groan rolled up through the earth, low, resonant, almost alive. The figure tilted its head, as if listening. Then its mouth opened wider than it should have, and the same 3-beat pulse came out. Thrum, thrum, thrum. I ran. Didn't stop until I reached Tower 6. My chest burned, lungs raw. The radio burst alive in my ear. Supervisor's voice. "Patrol Delta, confirm your position." "Tower 6, I saw..." "Confirm your position." He repeated, no emotion, no reaction. I said, "Do not describe what you saw. Do not document. Proceed to outpost." The radio clicked off. I turned to look back once. The desert was still, but the sand near the fence line hadn't settled. It moved slowly, like something beneath was breathing. Back at the outpost, I went to the surveillance room. The technician was asleep at his desk, monitors flickering. I scrolled through the tower feeds. Tower 6, offline. Tower 7, static. Tower 8, live. The live feed showed the second fence, but behind it, barely visible, a black void in the earth, like a hatch had opened. For a second, light shimmered from inside. Not a glow, more like reflected lightning. And then the feed cut to black. When I turned, the technician was awake, staring at me. "You didn't see that," he said quietly. "You log it, you disappear. That's how it works here." I wanted to ask what was under the sand, but the way he looked at me, it was like he already knew I'd gone too far. He slid something across the table, my black rule card, except this one had 9 rules. The new one, written in red. Rule 9, if the ground opens, don't look in. That night, I dreamed of the hum again, but this time I wasn't outside the fence. I was beneath it, surrounded by that same smooth metal surface. Lines of light ran along the walls, pulsing like veins. And from the darkness, something whispered, not words, just breath, right next to my ear. When I woke up, my pillow was covered in sand. The facility's fence isn't keeping something out. It's keeping something buried. And it's waking up.
The next morning, they reassigned me to interior patrol, inside the first fence, near the maintenance tunnels. No explanation, no debrief, no mention of the night before. When I asked Supervisor about the new rule card, he just stared at me for a few seconds too long before saying, "Keep your eyes forward, Officer Lane. There's nothing to see down there."
Nothing to see. But that phrase echoed in my head all day. By dusk, the sky over Groom Lake was a bruised violet, the kind that swallows stars. The wind carried dust in sheets, smearing the horizon. Everything out there felt off, like gravity itself was misaligned. Even my compass needle twitched every few seconds, never settling north. At 2100, I started my tunnel patrol. The entrance was built into the rock wall, sealed by a steel door with a circular hatch. Inside, it smelled of cold oil and ozone, the scent of machines that had been running too long without rest. Rows of lights stretched into the dark, each one flickering at different intervals. I kept my rifle close and my radio open. Half a mile in, I heard footsteps behind me, slow, synchronized, like someone pacing me from the entrance. I turned. Nothing. Then I realized the sound wasn't coming from behind. It was from beneath. The tunnel floor trembled in short, rhythmic bursts, the same 3-beat pulse I'd heard by the fence. Thrum, thrum, thrum. The lights flickered out, one by one, until only my flashlight remained. I called it in. "Control, this is Delta, experiencing seismic activity in subtunnel 3A. Static. Then a low voice answered. "Continue to the end of the tunnel. Do not stop." It wasn't supervisor. It wasn't anyone I recognized. Still, I moved forward. The tunnel widened into a circular chamber. In the center, the floor opened into a pit, perfectly round, edges lined with metallic ribs. The air above it shimmered like heat. I edged closer. My flashlight beam caught movement inside. Something was suspended in the center of the pit, rotating slowly. A sphere, black, smooth, covered in faint geometric etchings. It hovered inches above a metallic pedestal, humming in the same rhythm. I reached for my camera, but my arm didn't move. Not paralyzed, just disconnected, like my body forgot which signals mattered. The hum deepened, and for an instant I saw reflections rippling across the sphere's surface, flashes of faces, uniforms, towers, and something vast and coiled beneath the sand, turning slowly. Then a voice not from the radio this time, but inside my head. "You watch the fence, but the fence watches you." I stumbled back, breaking contact. My flashlight flickered. When it steadied, the sphere was gone. The pedestal was empty. And at the edge of the chamber, a shadow moved. It was Carter, or what was left of Carter. He stood in full uniform, but his face was colorless, drained of everything human. His eyes were open, unblinking. The skin around them looked stretched, like something inside was pushing out. "Carter," he said, flatly, "you saw it." "Carter, what the hell is this place?" "You saw it," he repeated. Then his voice broke, not in pain, but like a recording glitching. "It saw you." He stepped forward, movements jerky, wrong. Go back above ground before the next pulse. The next. The tunnel shuddered violently. Dust rained from the ceiling. I heard metal twisting far down the corridor. A deafening roar rolled through the chamber. Not mechanical, not seismic. Something alive. Carter reached for me, but his arm distorted mid-motion, stretched, blurred, then snapped back like rubber. His mouth opened, but light poured out instead of sound. Then everything went silent. When I woke up, I was lying at the tunnel entrance. The door was open. The night sky above was pulsing faintly, like the stars themselves were responding to the hum below. My radio crackled once more. Supervisor's voice, calm as ever. Delta, report. I found something in the lower tunnels. Carter's alive down there. There is no one by that name on record, he said flatly. End your shift. Debrief at 0600. But do not deviate from the route. The radio clicked off. When I looked down at my hand, there was fine gray dust in my glove's creases, the same kind that covered Carter's boots before he vanished. I brushed it off, but it didn't fall. It sank into my skin, like the desert itself didn't want to let me go. The pulse is growing stronger, and something beneath the base wants out.
I didn't sleep that morning. Couldn't. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the sphere. That impossible black surface reflecting faces that shouldn't exist. At 0600, I reported to debrief. The meeting room was sterile, white walls, humming vents, and the faint smell of disinfectant. Supervisor sat at the head of the table, expression unreadable. Two men I didn't recognize flanked him. No badges, no names. Officer Lane, Supervisor began. You were found unconscious near Tunnel 3A. There was a seismic event in the area. What do you remember? He said it like it was routine, like I hadn't seen the impossible. My throat was dry. There was something down there. A sphere, floating. It was humming. The two men exchanged a look. Supervisor didn't move. Define something. It was metal, maybe? Black, like it absorbed light. And there was... I stopped. How do you explain the voice? The feeling that something had looked directly into your soul. There was a vibration, rhythmic, 3 beats. Supervisor leaned back. You imagined it. Carbon dioxide buildup in the tunnels can cause hallucinations. I almost believed him until he slid a photo across the table. The image showed the chamber, the pit, the pedestal. But the sphere? Gone. Except the shadows on the walls weren't right. They curved inward, like light itself was bending around something invisible. Hallucination, he repeated softly. The meeting ended there. No further questions. They sent me back to my quarters and told me to rest. But I couldn't shake the feeling that the debrief wasn't about gathering information. It was about erasing it. That night, new rules appeared on my locker door. Handwritten, not printed. Different ink. Same handwriting as the first card. Do not speak of the hum. If you hear your own voice calling from the dark, do not answer. Stay above the second fence after midnight. If you see the stars flicker, look away immediately. The hum is not underground anymore. That last one froze me. Not underground anymore? I walked outside after curfew. The desert was still, windless. The floodlights carved long shadows across the sand. And then, faintly, beneath the electric hum of the perimeter fence, I heard it again. Thrum, thrum, thrum. Only this time, it wasn't distant.
It was coming from everywhere. The air vibrated in my chest. The ground rippled like something massive was shifting beneath it. The second fence buzzed brighter than I'd ever seen, arcs of static crawling along its length. Then, from the far side of the fence line, shapes began to appear. Not human, not machines, something in between. They moved like shadows caught in liquid. Their edges kept rewriting themselves, silhouettes that refused to hold a shape. For every second I looked, they looked back. I radioed in. "Control, this is Delta Unit. There's movement outside the second fence." Static. Then a voice, but not supervisors. "Lane, do not engage. This is containment protocol." "Containment for what?" "You've seen too much. Step back from the fence, now." The figures drew closer. The sand didn't move beneath them. They just floated, dissolving and reforming like ink in water. My flashlight flickered. Every time it went dark, they moved closer without moving, like reality skipped a frame. "Control, they're breaching the perimeter." "Negative," the voice replied calmly. "There is no breach." The light flickered again. Then one of them was right at the fence, inches away. It leaned close, and through the static blur I saw a human face flicker through the distortion. Carter, or what used to be him. He mouthed something I couldn't hear. Then the hum exploded into a single deafening tone that drove me to my knees. When I looked up, the fence was gone. Not broken, just gone. The desert stretched out flat and perfect, untouched. But the shapes were inside now. One by one they passed through me, literally through me, each time leaving a trail of cold that sank deep into my chest. With each pass, I saw flashes, the tunnels, the sphere, the chamber, the pit widening into something that was no longer underground. And then I saw Mount Charleston in the distance, the peak glowing faintly red. Not natural light, something awakening. The hum stopped. I was standing alone again, the fence back in place like nothing had changed. My radio was dead. The desert was silent. When the sun rose, a convoy of black trucks rolled in from the east. Men in containment suits fanned out, setting up equipment I didn't recognize. Supervisor approached me, his face pale. "Lane, you're being transferred." "Transferred where?" He looked toward the horizon, toward the mountain still glowing faintly red. "Somewhere that doesn't exist." That night, as they drove me out past the first gate, I looked back one last time. The desert was still. The fences hummed faintly, but I could feel it. Whatever was beneath this place, it wasn't sleeping anymore. The next pulse won't stay contained. Area 51's fences were never to keep people out. It was to keep something in. When the explosion hit, it wasn't fire that came first, it was silence. A silence so deep it erased sound, thought, and time. Then the desert folded inward. The air turned solid, and color drained from the world. Every grain of sand hung frozen mid-air, like we'd been trapped inside a paused frame of reality. And then it reversed. All that pressure released at once, sending a shockwave so massive it bent the sky. The horizon rippled like water, and I could see things moving inside it. Shadowed shapes, enormous, like the desert itself had peeled back to reveal what had always been buried beneath. The mountain wasn't a structure anymore. It was awake. The hum I'd heard every night wasn't electricity. It was breathing.
I felt it pulse through the sand under my boots, deep, rhythmic, alive. The craters from the blast began filling with light, each one glowing in sync, like the mountain's heartbeat had spread across the desert floor. I fell to my knees, choking on the air, because it wasn't just light, it was information. Images flashed inside my head, schematics, coordinates, alien alphabets that twisted into something familiar before dissolving again. Every soldier who'd survived the blast screamed in unison. Some clawed at their eyes, others just stared at the sky, whispering the same three words: "It's looking back." From the crater's center, a column of light pierced the clouds. Inside it, I could see movement, liquid silhouettes forming and dissolving. They weren't solid, weren't even fully in our dimension. Their presence pressed against reality like fingertips on glass, distorting everything around them. The sand vibrated so hard, my teeth cracked. Then, my radio came alive with static. A voice, distorted, overlapping, cut through. "Perimeter units, contain breach. Activate Obsidian Protocol." I'd only heard that term once, in a briefing none of us were supposed to remember. A worst-case contingency. No witnesses, no evidence, no survivors. Jets screamed overhead, missiles launched, but before they hit, the light vanished. Everything, energy, noise, movement, just stopped. The sky cleared, the hum died, and Mount Charleston looked ordinary again. Except it wasn't. A mile of desert had vanished. The crater wasn't there anymore. My GPS showed static. Every direction looked identical. Sand, fence, as if the world had looped itself into a perfect circle. My compass spun endlessly. And then, from the haze, I saw one figure walking toward me. A soldier in the same uniform. No insignia, no name tag. His face was mine. He stopped a few feet away and smiled. "They chose you." "For what?" "To keep the door closed." He raised his rifle and pointed it at me. For a second, I thought he'd shoot. Instead, he stepped backward into the air and dissolved like sand caught in a breeze. My radio crackled again, this time with a clear voice. It was command. "Perimeter 1, status report. Do not cross the second fence." I looked down. The sand was still glowing faintly under my boots, pulsing like a fading heartbeat. Somewhere beneath, that thing was still breathing. I picked up my rifle and turned toward the second fence. The hum started again, low, steady, waiting. And as I stared into the black expanse beyond it, I finally understood what the rules were really for. Not to keep people out, to keep something in. When command called me back to base, I thought the nightmare was over. But the next morning, they assigned me a new patrol at a facility that shouldn't exist. A place labeled only Echo Field. And the hum followed me there. They debriefed me in a white room with no windows. 3 men in suits asked questions that made no sense. What did the light say? Did I hear the lattice? Did it recognize me? I told them what I saw, but they never reacted. One wrote the word synchronization on a clipboard and underlined it 3 times. When they finally dismissed me, I was told I'd been reassigned to a new perimeter, a few hundred miles west. They called it Echo Field.
I didn't ask what it was. You learn not to ask. But the moment the Jeep crested the last dune, I knew this wasn't a normal sight. There were no fences, no watchtowers, just a vast, circular basin surrounded by concrete pylons and humming generators. The air shimmered like heat distortion, but it was freezing cold. Inside the basin, they'd built something enormous and half-buried, a black ring, maybe 100 meters wide, made of the same material that pulsed under Mount Charleston. Wires ran from it into the ground, feeding whatever lived beneath. A technician handed me a headset. Command says to listen, not talk. The moment it touched my ears, I heard it again. The hum, not faint this time, but layered, like hundreds of voices whispering in unison. It wasn't random noise. It was language, structured, almost musical, and beneath it a pattern. 3 pulses, pause, 2 pulses, pause, 3 again. The same rhythm I'd felt in the sand when the mountain awoke. I asked what the ring was. The tech didn't look up. A receiver, he said. We're not broadcasting anymore. We're waiting. Waiting for what? He didn't answer. That night, I stood at the edge of the basin. Lightning rolled across the desert, though the sky was clear. The ring flickered with faint light, runes crawling along its surface like circuitry. Every pulse echoed through my chest. And then something impossible happened. The sand in the center rose. A shape began to form from it, humanoid at first, then shifting, like it was deciding what to be. The sound grew deafening, and for a heartbeat, I saw its face, my own face. I stumbled backward, tearing off the headset, but the hum stayed inside my head. It was speaking through me now. My mouth moved without permission. Containment complete. Synchronization successful. And then everything went dark. When I woke, it was morning. The ring was silent. The technicians were gone. Only a single soldier stood by the Jeep. His uniform was clean, untouched by dust. He handed me a new badge. Perimeter Commander, Echo Field. I looked down at it. The photo was mine, but the eyes weren't. He saluted, got in the Jeep, and drove away, leaving me alone with the basin. At noon, Command called in. Their voice was perfectly calm. Perimeter Commander, maintain position. No one enters Echo Field without authorization. If the hum changes, report immediately. I looked toward the ring. The light had returned, slow, steady, breathing. That's when I realized something that chilled me more than anything that had come before. They didn't build Echo Field to contain it. They built it to feed it. Every hum was a signal, every pulse a heartbeat. And now that it had synchronized with me, it didn't need the mountain anymore. It could travel anywhere, through radio, through sound, through memory. As I stand here now, the air around me shimmers like a mirage. My reflection in the rifle barrel doesn't blink when I do. And every time I close my eyes, I see the desert folding in again. The same silence, the same light, the same face whispering through static. Keep the door closed. But I think it's already open. The hum hasn't stopped for 3 nights. It's growing louder. If you ever find yourself near the Nevada line and you hear the desert breathe, don't stop.
Don't listen. And whatever you do, don't cross the second fence.